All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with the long-requested Ricky Richards Satellarknights. So right now this deck is 1-1 in the Zodiac tournament. Herman ended up destroying it round 2 with fucking Goki. And I guess it was bound to happen when you don't go first, as is life. But I was having a discussion on yesterday's video. It's 2018. We kind of just forgot about Satellarknights. It's kind of like Necros kind of coming back out of the woodwork. You're just kind of like, oh, I forgot about you. Well, the thing that Satellarknights have always kind of had for them is they act as this stun deck. They have a very consistent searchability engine. They have stability, and they can abuse this card, for those of you that don't really know. So, Ricky put together this deck, I think, on a whim. I think he went back to the year 2014. In a fucking time capsule or some shit. It was maybe 2015. I'm not exactly sure anymore. I think he took a deck list and said, fuck it, we're going to slap a bunch of new cards in here, because it's kind of where I feel that Fiendish Chain comes from. So, but what does this deck aim to do? Well, I'm glad you asked, guys. This deck aims to paralyze the opponent. 45 cards can feel a little bit rough. Just kind of manage your resources while you're playing the deck. I don't see any reason to have any issues with resource management. I mean, you're on 9 monsters, you're on a 45 card deck. And I mean, if you start doing some really spooky stuff, well then you've already succeeded and did what your deck needs to do. You're playing, once again, a stun-based deck. You want to use your little flow of monsters that you have here to kind of create an advantage pool away from your opponent, and try to paralyze your opponent. One of the best things that you have access to in this deck is Mr. Trevere down here. If this card is Xyz summoned, return all other cards on the field to the hand, and then once per turn, detach material from this card, send one random card from your opponent's hand to the graveyard. Yeah, you know these reusable bad Fiendish Chains, these bad floodgates that might screw you up, and they're not going to do anything to you. You have the ability to bounce these back to your hand, and set up just better cards depending on the situation. It's kind of one of the cool things that Trevere does for this deck. Reusability, recyclability, and disruption. I mean, fucking pinging your opponent for a card, and the ability to just non-targeting bounce back everything. He does require 3 level 4 Teller monsters to make. I mean, there are ways to get around it. Ptolemaios over here, 2 level 4 Teller monsters. All face-up monsters of the field become dark. Detach 1 material from this card, discard 1 card, special summon from your extra deck 1 light Tellarknight monster using this face-up card as material. Also, you cannot exceed summon monsters of blah 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 in the materials transfer. This effect can be activated during either player's turn if you have 7 or more Tellarknight monsters with different names in your graveyard. So, I mean, we're never going to get to that point, maybe, in some stranger world, but you have cool plays. So, but yeah, I'm happy to be talking about this deck. I love Stun. It's such a fun deck. I'm the kind of person that really just loves watching my opponent struggle as we do what we do best. Sit there and smile as we hand shuffle. So anyway, this is Ricky's 45 Teller card deck. So we have 3 copies of Altair. A few people were questioning why he set Altair in the feature match, and I was trying to alleviate to this. He activated Demise. He doesn't want to revive Deneb and discard more cards, especially now that I'm looking at the deck here. He set the Altair, that way he could flip summon it on the next turn. When you have 3 to 4 back row, I mean, and you're going first, if your opponent plays through that, well, fuck. But he was trying to set the Altair to gain advantage, because it's whenever this card is summoned, you'll get the ability to revive from your graveyard. I think a lot of people fucking forget this. Literally. So, just kind of something to keep in mind. You're using Altair as a means to revive from the graveyard, stack up advantage, and go from there. So, I figured it would be obvious. 3 copies of Neb. Once again, this guy also gets his effect when he's flip summoned. So, on flip summon, or special summon, or normal summon, you can add a Tellarknight from your deck to your hand, and you can only use the effect of Deneb once per turn. So, this is your Stratus of the deck, coming in at 1500. Kind of weak, actually. Then we have 2 copies of Unukalhai. So, once again, if this card's normal flipped or special summoned, you can send 1 Tellarknight from your deck to the graveyard. You're just kind of using this as a means, as a secondary starter, clearing out your deck of 1 bad resource, allowing you to kind of just get better options. It's kind of good. And then we're playing 1 copy of Vega, normal, flip, or special summon. you can special summon one Tellarknight from your hand. Once again, just a very subtle extender. You don't want to play 3 copies of Uncle High, so I think 1 Vega just kind of splashing in there for the 9 monster engine is absolutely fine. I don't foresee any difficulties with this. Now, we're playing 3 copies of Demise. Remember, Demise does not allow your opponent to take for the damage this turn and shuts off special summoning. Hence the fact that he set the Altair. I feel better now. And then we have 2 copies of Desires. 3 in this deck is fucking terrible. We're not about that life. Alright, so don't even think about playing 3 Desires in here. But I want to go to 46 cards, Robbie. Don't. We have 3 copies of Duality. Demise and Duality conflict. No, they don't. They just get you further into your deck. Then 1 copy of Rhoda. I mean, searching for every monster in your fucking deck. Literally, this is your 10th monster. Now, traps. We have 3 Call the Haunted. The reason why we're playing this and not back to the front, because this equips onto the monster. So you can, exceed summon, let the call stay on the field, and then laugh at your opponent as you Trevere it back to your hand. So, once again, that's why we're playing bad cards like Fiendish Chain 2. Trevere, Trevere, Trevere. 3 copies of Compulse. If you can get your opponent into a situation that you can control their monsters, Compulse is actually not a bad resource. But it's only going to be good in a situation that you can control your opponent. When you've got Gozen and Rivalries on the field, this card becomes infinitely more powerful, because if your opponent produces some sort of issue, you can just move it out of the way. Your opponent sets a monster, you're getting ready to swing for game, compulse it back, swing. The card's power has kind of decreased over the last couple of years, but the card is still very deadly, even in today's current formats. I did notice when Ricky was playing, he did put this card as a lower priority as opposed to other cards, which is absolutely fine. But in the right situation, you can maybe cut this down to 44 and play 2 Compulse, but 1-for-1s are pretty good still. And then 3 copies of Fiendish Chain. I hate targeting monster negation as much as the next person, but Trevere, Trevere, Trevere. Bouncing the shit back. Infinite reuses. Yeah, it's pretty good. Fiendish Chain in the year 2018, people. Remember that. Then we have 3 copies of Ghost and Match and 3 copies of Rivalry. Floodgates. Remember, everything in your deck is Warrior. And everything is basically light. I mean, except for Batalminus, but what do I care about that? It's not like we can't just shit out 3 guys on the field and just go into Trevere Deltaros on our own, And 3 copies of Impermanence. I think a lot of people are going to be like, oh man, another deck that requires 3 Impermanence? Yeah. Unfortunately. Depending on how this deck sets up, I mean, at least it's a hand trap for you to have access to in the grand scheme of things. If not, just column negation, depending on how you set things up. And we have the full Solemn package of 1 Judgment, 3 Strikes, no warning. This is fine. I mean, once again, you kind of need those resources. Only 2 copies of Alpha. Alpha's not as good as I want it to be. Negation is still fantastic, but this card is definitely a little bit more high maintenance. Face up Tellarknight monster to the graveyard to negate and then draw a card. Yeah, it's a little bit more complicated, but 2's fine. Then 3 copies of Storming Mirror Force. That non-targeting removal that this deck actually can generate is pretty cool. Now, this deck does get to play a Soul Day, actually. You can actually shove 2 Tellarknights together and fucking go search for one for the next turn. Search for Altair. 3 copies of Trevere, because reasons. 2 copies of Deltaros, because reasons. Constellar Diamond. So during your main phase 2, you can exceed summon this card by using a Stellar Knight Exceeds monster you control as material. Materials will transfer. While this card has material, neither player can send cards from their deck to the graveyard, and any card that returns from the graveyard to the hand is banished instead. And then during either player's turn, when an opponent's dark monster activates its effect, detach material from this card and negate the activation if you do destroy it. Yep, it's like a Macrocosmo on crack. 1 copy of Ultimate Falcon, because LOL. Slight little Utopia package in here with Rongo Bongo. 2 Badalamias, 1 Dweller, and 1 LOL. Then we have triple Ash Blossom on the side, triple Shared Ride, different dimension gum. I'm starting to see this come up a lot more in side decks this format. The card's actually pretty good. Triple Magic Deflector, and triple LOL, wrapping up this deck profile. So, for you Stellar Knight players out there, do you like this deck? Do you not like this deck? Does this give you some sort of excitement to want to try? What are you thinking right now. It's the year 2018, and I'm talking about Tellarknights. Oh boy. So guys, leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think. And Ricky, thanks for sending me your list, buddy. I really do appreciate it. It was really cool watching you fucking douse your round one opponent. I will say, I do like cool things like that. Definitely it warms my heart. Alright guys, I'm out. The ride never ends, guys. Make sure you enable those notifications to get the latest videos that are being posted on this channel. Make sure you guys check out VanCole40 for my Cardfight Vanguard channel. And join me and House of Champions on the Zodiac Duelist TV Twitch stream. We'll be interacting with our audiences. And please check out No Limit Gaming and LGTCG.com for the cheapest trading cards on the market. Thanks for watching, guys, and please have a good day.